Alright, so Sega has announced something known as the Sega Spectrum, and this has got a lot of people speculating, so I decided to get on the bandwagon and join in the discussion, put my 2 cents in, and settle this, well, not really settle this, but just settle what my opinions are about this. Now, me being an old school retro gamer, you know that I want the Sega Spectrum to be a console. I would love that. I don't think it will be. I agree with most people that it won't be. I mean, it could easily be a new download service similar to Steam or Origin, or, you know, online or any of that. It could. That's what it more likely will be, see, because the logo makes it look like. You know, the logo doesn't look like a fancy logo like that of a console, but how great would it be if it was, you know, a new console? I mean, imagine all the stuff they could bring back. I mean, a stall on the Sega Saturn, still to this day, one of my favorite Saturn games, you know? I mean, granted, I know that more likely it's not going to happen. I mean, they just made a deal with Nintendo to make exclusive games for them. And, you know, I think that would be like, hey, Nintendo has the Wii U, but Mario's going to show up on a PS4. You know, that is what it's similar to, at least to me. In my book, that's what it's similar to. It's basically like, we're going to throw a console out as well as, you know, as well as spread out our franchises. But something that Sega could be doing is saying, well, Sonic's been spread out for years anyway, you know? So what we're going to do is we're going to give you another Power Stone. We're going to give you, you know, we're going to start bringing Knights games. We're going to give you another Space Channel 5 game. You know, we're going to give you Shenmue 3 because we know you've been asking for it. We're going to give you the exclusives that came out for the Saturn, that came out for the Dreamcast. It's still one of my favorite systems of all time, mind you. And this time it's going to be in glorious high definition with up graphics and all that jazz. I think that would be great. I don't think that's what it's going to be, though. I mean, only time will tell. E3 is right around the corner, and hopefully it'll be something big. I think the idea that I've heard about it being a new engine, that could work, because Sega would no longer have to pay any fees to use like an Unreal Engine for a Sonic game, or to use, you know, the Frostbite engine, or any other engine. They could have their own engine to make their own games, and they could make it, you know, be a spectacular engine at that. That they could then do like the Unreal Engine or the Havoc engine or any of these other engines, and really just start to, you know, throw them out to other developers, other distributors, and be like, here, make a game using the Sega Spectrum engine. But really, I would like it to be a console. I mean, seriously. Although, I kind of said this in an earlier video, and I still hold to that fact, that I think that there are too many consoles entering the market. I mean, you got, what, we already know that the Wii U's out, we know that the One is coming out, we know that the PlayStation 4 is coming out. Those are the big three. In addition, we still have the Ouya. We now have the NVIDIA, the thing is called the Shield now, is actually what it's called. And I believe the Steam box is still in development. In addition, there is this system that I know of called the Otem, you know, there's just a ton. I probably haven't scratched the surface on some of the other ones. So it seems to me like another one coming out, you know, another system on top of the big three, on top of the Ouya, on top of the Shield, you know, on top of the Steam box if it comes out, on top of the Oton. That's just a lot, you know. And the problem that I found, especially during the golden age of gaming, if I can go back, was the problem with a lot of systems. You know, during the golden age of gaming, as I call it, everybody was coming out with a system. I mean, you had the Atari Jaguar, you had Nokia getting into the fray, you had Apple getting into the fray with the Pippin, you had everybody making some kind of a game console. You had, who was it, 3DO, Philips with the CDI. I mean, everybody was coming out with a system, you know? And the problem with it was that most of those systems failed despite being technologically superior. The 3DO is a good example because, well, why? You know, I mean, that is usually what ends up happening. You know, it's like, why would I, as a Nintendo lover, why would I, as a Microsoft supporter, want to go and give you my hard-earned money when I don't know? You know? And so I think that's the problem with Sega. Sega has kind of missed the opportunity. I mean, they officially said that they were out of the market after the Dreamcast because of the looming PlayStation 2. And if they were afraid of the PlayStation 2, do you really think that Sega thinks that they can now compete against the likes of the PlayStation 4? I mean, and that's the other thing, they missed a whole console generation, you know? They kind of have established their name as a developer, kind of like the way Atari is now. People hear Atari, they instantly think of, you know, games, because that's what Atari mostly does now. They don't have hardware anymore. And neither does Sega. Sega has mostly established himself, at least in the last generation and a half, as being a developer. You know, hey, Sega has Platinum Games, here's Vanquish, you know, here's another Sonic game, here's, you know, all these other titles that we can come out with. That's what I think Sega is now. You know, they are a developer first and foremost. And while I do miss them, and I would love to see them come back in, especially now that everybody is apparently also trying to get back in to the console race, I think you have the same problem that came up with that golden age of gaming when everybody was coming in. You know? You have too many dogs barking. It's hard to hear who the big dog is. You see what I'm saying? Probably kind of a lousy metaphor, but I think you kind of get the point. Because if Sega's over here saying, look at our system, and Sony's over here, look, we have Uncharted, here's The Last of Us, here's Beyond One Soul, or whatever that next Quantic Dream title is, you know, and Microsoft is over here showing off Fable and Halo and, you know, the next Gears of War, whatever it is that they show off, and Nintendo's showing off Legend of Zelda, and they're showing off all their big titles. Do you think anybody's really going to be paying attention to Sega? Maybe, maybe not. I know I would, because I like to give everybody equal time, and to me, Sega is still, like, if they came back in, they would instantly be number 2. You know? They would push down Sony and Microsoft only just because, hey, you've been in the game longer than those two, and I have more respect for you. But besides that, what would they do with a console? You know, do they have that kind of money? You know, I mean, I know that they're doing good because of being software developers and all, but do they really have the money to create new hardware? And do they even want to enter that space anymore? Because in a way, I think the answer is yes and no. Because yes, they might have the money to enter the hardware race again, especially with how well they've been doing with some games, but do they really want to enter that space and try to go up against Microsoft? Because to me, Microsoft is the new Sega. I mean, I established that a long time ago, especially with the Xbox. It's like, look, you want to go and you want to copy Sega? You want to take their online network because you worked on it and turn it into Xbox Live? You're the new Sega. You want to go and steal their controller and just add black and white buttons and a second analog? Fine, you can be the new Sega. And that's where all my Sega games go. Space Channel 5 Part 2, Sonic Generations, all the games that come out on Sega that I would put on a Sega system go to the Xbox and the 3DS. I'm sorry, the 360 by default. So there's that. But at the same time, I would love to see, because I've been calling for it for years now, I would love to see new iterations of their classic franchises. Another Power Stone would be great. Power Stone, still fun to play. Another Echo the Dolphin, certainly. I know Nights just came out on the Wii, so it's not like it's been out for a while, but another Nights game would be fantastic. Shenmue 3, again, please, Shenmue 3. Another Caution Seaman game would be great also. This is the kind of stuff that I'm just like, why are you not hitting us hard with your franchises, Sega? You keep giving us more and more Sonic games, and while that's fine, you can only, pour so much Sonic soup down my throat before I want to gag on it and be like, okay, that's enough. Please give us something else. You have plenty of franchises. You have Space Channel 5. You have Echo the Dolphin. You have Power Stone. You have Shenmue. You can even go way back. You can give us another Toe Jam and Earl, another Vector Man. You can give us another Altered Beast game. Anything. Anything. I mean, come on. You can pull from a lot of franchises and give us all kinds of exclusives. So, is the Spectrum a new system? Me personally, I hope so. Because if I'm going to spend my hard-earned money on a game system, I'm going to want it to be one of my top 4 anyway. But at the same time, I don't think so. Because, like I said, they've kind of already missed the boat on that. They had the opportunity with the PS3 and the Xbox 360 and the Wii to kind of go out and be like, look, we're the middleman. We're not as low-tech as the Wii, but we're not as high-tech as the PS3. And maybe that's what Microsoft is. I wish them to be kind of the middleman, like here's Sony with their good technological stuff, and here is Nintendo with their good gameplay mechanics and their great franchises, and here's everything else. And that's where Microsoft falls. But I don't know. Only time will tell. I personally am rooting for an engine, their own engine. I'm also rooting for an online service. But the fact that they said that it's something big, it's a huge announcement, who knows? They could just be tooting their own horn the same way at how Microsoft is, talking about, oh, we got 15 exclusive games. These big titles and stuff like that. And then when E3 comes around, they might just be crummy games that we all expected anyway. Who knows? Only time will tell. But I am hoping for a new system. But I don't even know what to say anymore. The idea of a new Sega system is fantastic. It's something that I have desired ever since the Dreamcast ended. And I'm like, what? Why did you end? You were on top. For a year and a half, you dominated the market. And because you were scared, because of the way the PlayStation dominated over the Saturn, you were worried that the PlayStation 2 was going to dominate over you. That's just like Nintendo going, well, we're technologically inferior to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. We might as well give up now. We might as well just give up. That's the same way, it seems to me. So, Sega, I really hope that you come back. Even if the Spectrum is like the Neo Geo Gold X, and it's just another console that has digital versions of all the old games, which that doesn't really count as a system. That's like saying that the Atari Flashback is a system. It's not. It's a plug and play, and it doesn't count. But at the same time, I really don't think that now would be the best time. Announcing a new console would be great. I would support it, and I'd buy it in a heartbeat before I even bought the PlayStation 4 or the 1, depending upon when you launched it. But at the same time, I really do think that it's just too deep territory right now. The water's too deep. If there was just Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft, sure, come on in. There's room for one more. But now you have the Ouya coming out. I've already mentioned, a ton of others that are coming out. Plus, who knows what else is in the works. And so I just think that it's too many systems entering the market. Too many developers, too many systems trying to dominate the same space. And when that happens, it usually ends up getting blown up in everybody's face. You know? That's my opinion. Make sure that you leave yours, of course. Comment, leave a video response, whatever you want to do. But let's talk about this. What do you want to see from the Sega Spectrum? Do you think that it's just, do you think it's still going to be their own engine? Do you think it's going to be another console? Do you hope it's another console like me? And if it is another console, what do you want to see from Sega? What games do you want them to come out with? I think that's my rant for now. I can't really think of much else. I know I've kind of gone around in circles. I just heard this news and I hadn't really had time to sit down and form coherent thoughts about it yet. I just got in front of the camera and decided to start talking. So I appreciate you guys watching, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.